I, a 33-year-old man, accidentally overheard my girlfriend, who is 28, making some pretty harsh jokes about me to her best friend, a 27-year-old guy named Dylan. When I say brutal, I really mean brutal. Jenna and I have been a couple for just over 2 years now. Our story began in my veterinary office when she brought her dog in for an ear infection. What was supposed to be a quick 15-minute appointment turned into an hour-long chat, and I was immediately smitten. Before Jenna, I was living the single life, enjoying casual flings, but I was starting to feel empty as that lifestyle just wasn't fulfilling anymore. Jenna is vibrant and has a rich social life. She has many friends, and one of her closest friends is Dylan, who she knew from her old town. I trust Jenna completely, but I won't lie and say that her friendship with Dylan doesn't make me uneasy. It's not like I get angry or start fights over it. Jenna has assured me they've always been just friends and have never crossed any lines. I consider myself secure and not possessive at all, so I've accepted their friendship and even tried to get along with him. Dylan has visited us 3 times, and while Jenna thinks he's just being protective of her, I can't shake the feeling that his attitude towards me leans more towards jealousy than genuine protectiveness. This past spring, Jenna wrapped up her grad school, but she's been struggling to find a job since then. We've been living together for a year, and I've been more than supportive during her job search, especially since I'm in a good financial position. I want her to be independent and have her own financial footing, so I've been subtly hinting that I expect her to start sharing the expenses once she lands a job. On Monday, I got a text from her while at work saying she finally scored a job she really wanted, after going through a tough interview process. I was beyond thrilled and proud of her. To celebrate, I decided to leave work early without telling her. I picked up her favorite drinks and Chinese food, along with flowers and a necklace she had admired a few weeks back. The necklace wasn't too fancy, but it had a little shark on it, and she's obsessed with anything related to sharks. I had hidden it away in the basement, planning to surprise her later. When I got home, I came through the side entrance to grab the necklace. I could hear Jenna talking on the phone, and normally, I wouldn't eavesdrop. But she was laughing so hard that I couldn't resist waiting to hear what was going on. She was on the phone with Dylan, which is nothing unusual, as they chat at least once a week. But then I caught snippets of their conversation, and it took me a moment to realize they were laughing about our sex life. Jenna joked about how her ex-boyfriend was better in some way, dropping comments about how he was more well-endowed than I was. She even said something that made me cringe, how she felt bad eating baby carrots around me because of how it must look. The laughter continued, and while I know people have their opinions, this was hitting a nerve because what she was saying wasn't even true. That made it hurt even more. I mean, who knows about her ex? Maybe he was packing, but that's not the point. The things she was saying cut deep, especially since they were based on false claims. He was like a stunning horse, majestic and powerful, while I consider myself to be very average, just the good old-fashioned kind of average. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm not about to sell myself like I'm something special. It's not like my life is extraordinary or anything worth writing home about, but it's also not something that would make someone laugh. I've never really felt self-conscious about who I am. It is what it is. However, hearing her tear into me in front of a guy she knows, someone I have some concerns about, was just incredibly hurtful. I mean, hurtful doesn't even really cover it. She also made jokes about me being good-looking but not very smart, which really struck a nerve. The truth is, I'm actually well-educated. This whole idea of me not being smart is not something I worry about. I know I'm smart, I'm gorgeous, and while my manhood might be average, I'm not ashamed of it. After all that went down, I left. Did I toss the flowers out of my car window? Yes. Did I cry in a parking lot? Yes. I think she might have even heard the sound of the basement door close as I walked out. Maybe she saw my car driving away because she started texting me pretty quickly after I left, asking when I was coming home. That was on a Monday, and since then, I've been keeping quiet about it. I don't know how to approach the topic. I think I'm still working through my feelings. It's just so embarrassing and painful, but despite everything, I love this girl. I'm not saying I'll forgive her right away, but I really want to underline how tough this whole situation is for me. I know I should talk to her about it, but I'm unsure where to start. I feel extremely hurt, and I honestly don't know if I can ever really forgive her. Just a quick recap, my girlfriend made fun of me in front of her male friend about our sex life and my penis. That was pretty rough stuff, and I feel like a puppy that just got kicked. Joking aside, I'm devastated right now. I had plans to propose to her in the next few months, but now I can't see how I could ever move forward. After reaching out to some friends about it, I decided to break up with Jenna. I went out for a beer with 3 of my pals, and they all agreed with the majority of the advice I got: dump her, and do it quickly. I spoke with my mom too. I told her everything, even though it was embarrassing. We're pretty close, and I wanted her to get the full story. I've never seen her so angry about anything before, especially since she knew I was planning to buy a ring for Jenna. I'll post an update once I go through with it. It might be tomorrow, but it could take me a few days to get back to it. I feel like I'm going to be pretty wrecked emotionally afterward. Now, for the update, I'm 33, and I overheard my 28-year-old girlfriend making fun of me pretty harshly to her best friend, who's 27. When I say harshly, I truly mean it. Thanks to the support of strangers on Reddit, I kept my cool and broke up with Jenna on Thursday evening. Honestly, these past few days have been the most dramatic of my life. Things escalated on her side of it, and it got pretty messy. A lot happened, but based on the advice from friends and many of you, I chose to speak to her in a private but public setting. This way, if she tried to flip things around on me and claim that I hurt her, it would be harder for her to do. I'd like to think she wouldn't stoop that low, but given everything that's gone down, better safe than sorry. I considered just packing up her things and ending it without saying anything, but we've been together for over 2 years. I decided the best move was to confront her calmly and listen to what she had to say, even if it didn't change my mind about breaking up. I took her to a wine bar downtown with those cozy little booths that have half curtains. Since Monday, she had been acting all sweet, which either meant she felt guilty for being a jerk, thought I might have hurt her, or just had no idea why I was being distant and was trying to make up for it by dressing nice. Despite everything that happened, she seemed like she was trying hard to put on a good front. Despite everything that had happened, I couldn't help but notice how stunning she looked. She had this glow about her, and it was hard to ignore. She was also extremely affectionate, showering me with compliments and making a lot of sexy comments about everything she wanted to do with me later. Normally, my precious little baby carrot would have been thrilled by this kind of attention and flirtation. But given the circumstances we were in, it was tough to hear and act like everything was fine. I had rehearsed what I wanted to say to her so many times that I felt like I was ready. As soon as we sat down and poured our wine, I began to speak. I can't remember the exact words I used because my adrenaline was racing, and everything felt kind of fuzzy. I started by expressing how much I loved her and how she was the only woman I had ever connected with so deeply. I opened my heart to her, sharing my trust and vulnerability. I told her that she was the only woman I had ever seriously considered marrying and that I had even looked at rings. I chose to leave out the part about having already bought one and imagining a future with kids in a few years. She kept interrupting me to express her love for me, which made it even harder to stay focused on what I needed to say. Then, I looked her directly in the eyes and asked her why, if she loved me so much, she had made such horrible jokes about me to Dylan. The expression on her face was somewhat satisfying, though I knew what was coming next. She denied it at first, acting clueless about what I was talking about. According to her, Dylan knew how much she loved me, and she had never said anything negative about me to him. I just stared at her and said something like, "Come on, Jenna." But she continued to deny it, even after I told her that I had come home early on Monday and overheard her. It was frustrating, but I kept my cool. I told her that deep down, we both knew she was lying and that what she had said was unforgivable. I couldn't wrap my head around why she would say such things about me to anyone, especially to Dylan, when she was just trying to make fun of me. She still insisted I was crazy, saying she loved me too much to be dissatisfied with our sex life or to complain about anything. She went on about how smart and sweet I am, which is why she loves me. If I hadn't caught her in the act of talking to Dylan, I might have believed her. She could win an Oscar for that performance. Some commenters even questioned whether I was sure she was talking about me when she mentioned her ex. But she said my name while making those comparisons, so I was completely certain she was lying straight to my face. At that point, I told her I would drive us home so she could grab her essentials and her dog. My brother and his girlfriend would be at the house too, just to have witnesses around. I wanted to make sure she had the chance to get her things without any drama. I told her I would pack up the rest of her stuff and leave it out for her to pick up later. She was in shock that I was actually breaking up with her, pleading with me to reconsider. But my mind was set, I wouldn't budge. It was hard not to cry when she kept saying how much she wanted to be with me forever and that she had planned on being the mother of my children someday. Since I owned the house and she hadn't contributed to expenses like rent or bills, I felt no hesitation about asking her to leave. She kept asking me what she was supposed to do and where she would sleep. I told her it wasn't really my problem anymore, insisting she had plenty of friends to stay with until she could find her own place. Most of the furniture and decor in the house were mine, she just had her clothes and toiletries to pack up. All the changes she made to my home were done on my dime. Then, the tears started. She began to cry, saying she didn't understand how I could do this to her. She said she thought I was a nice guy, repeating it 1,000,000 times. She always thought I was a nice guy, and honestly, I must have told her about 1,000,000 times that I was. That's why I didn't just throw her stuff out on the front lawn, change the locks, and leave her without an explanation. I swear, she really twisted the knife when she finally admitted to me that she didn't even know why she said some hurtful things to Dylan. It was like a light bulb moment for her. She said that maybe Dylan brought out the best in her, that he made her laugh about things that would normally upset her. I couldn't help but think that one of those things was probably my penis. So, I told her how sad it was to think that if that was really her at her best, then what she said was pretty petty. Usually, I don't stoop to making mean comments, but in that moment, I told her she could just go back to her hometown and live with Dylan or her other ex-boyfriend who had, I guess, a bigger penis than mine. It was wild to see how quickly her tears dried up after that. All of a sudden, I was the loser who didn't know how to treat women, the guy with a tiny penis who was doomed to be alone forever. According to her, she never really loved me, I was just a friend to her. She stayed with me only because she didn't want to hurt my feelings. It made total sense when I thought about it. If I had proposed to her again, she definitely would have said no. I was reminded again that I was a loser, and in case I missed it the first time, she made sure to emphasize that my penis looked like a baby carrot. She said I would die alone, and I just responded that I'd rather die alone than be married to someone who was so cruel and didn't love or respect me. That's when she lost it. She started screaming, a loud, piercing scream that was really alarming. And then, just like that, she ran out of there after calling me a disgusting pig. After the whole mess, I paid the bill and apologized to the waiter for all the drama. When I left, Jenna was just standing outside, crying. I knew what she had done was horrible, and all the mean things she had just said were beyond hurtful, but seeing her cry made me feel bad. I didn't want to just leave her there on the cold sidewalk, especially since it was already chilly in New England. I offered her a ride back to the house to pick up her things, but I made it clear she needed to leave and find somewhere else to stay. She agreed and packed a bag without us saying much at all during the drive. It was one of the most awkward car rides ever. When we got to the house, my brother and his wife were there. His wife stayed inside while my brother waited outside with me. The whole time went by without any real incidents, and Jenna got a friend to come pick her up. Before she left, I made sure to get my key back from her. That night, she started texting me. The messages bounced around from apologies to sadness to anger, then back to really angry again. I didn't reply to any of them. The next morning, I texted her to let her know her stuff was on the porch and that she could come get it while I was at work. The day went by without a word from her until it was almost time for me to head home. I got a nasty text wishing all sorts of terrible things on me, but I just ignored it. When I returned home, I was greeted by a disaster zone. She had somehow gotten into the house. I had no idea if she made a spare key or knew how to pick locks. But she had completely wrecked the place. She smashed things that couldn't be replaced, tore up the furniture, clogged 2 sinks, and left the water running. The refrigerator was wide open and food was scattered everywhere in the kitchen. It was all a complete mess. The only decent thing she did was lock my 2 dogs in a bedroom, probably so they wouldn't cut themselves on glass or eat the food that was thrown all over. I own 2 vehicles, one for daily use and an SUV for work. I use the SUV when I have to transport animals to the clinic on house calls. In all the chaos, I forgot that I had given her a key to the SUV for emergencies. I went outside to check on it and found that she had trashed it too. She dumped flour all over the inside and even spilled tomato soup everywhere. In the end, it was just stuff, but what really got to me was thinking about how she could do all this. It's really hard to wrap my head around everything that's happened lately. Last weekend, things seemed great. I took her out to a play, spent time with her and some friends. We even had a fun night playing Monopoly, where we created our drinking game to spice things up. We binge-watched Netflix together and, well, let's just say we got close a few times. Fast forward to this weekend, and it's like a whole different world. My house and my car are wrecked, and honestly, I feel like a complete mess. It's crazy how everything can flip in such a short time. I can't say it's my best moment, but out of anger, I did something a little ridiculous. I went onto Costco's instant delivery and ordered a whopping 100 pounds of baby carrots, sending them to her friend's address with a note for Jenna. They promised delivery within an hour, which made it all the more amusing. That evening, my phone lit up with a bunch of texts from her, some were downright nasty. Sure, I'll admit it was petty, but my only regret is that it feels like a waste of food. I really hope she finds a way to use them, cook them, or donate them, something productive instead of letting them go to waste. After she kept hitting me with nasty texts, I decided to block her. I honestly feel drained right now. I've shed more tears in the last few days than I have in a long time. It's clear to me now that I made the right call. Jenna's behavior shows that she's definitely not emotionally solid or mature. Her cruelty has made me realize that I deserve better. Since Monday, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on my role as a partner and trying to understand what might have caused her to feel resentful towards me. I have to be real here, my job takes a lot of my time. I do my best to make space for the people I care about, and I try hard not to drag the stress from work into my personal life. But some days, it just happens. Jenna and I have fought about this before, and I've really tried to manage my schedule to get home at a decent hour. I do my best to leave a tough day at work behind, but anyone who knows what being a vet is like understands that you're often on call and dealing with emergencies. There are nights when I need to check on patients or stay with them, and while I have a great team that can handle many situations, it doesn't change the fact that I'm still getting texts and calls even when I'm off. I know there have been times Jenna felt like she came second to my job. She's told me that before, and I've made genuine efforts to change things around, but I can only do so much. As I look back on our relationship, I can't recall ever purposely being mean to Jenna. Yes, I've had off days when I was grumpy or just not fully present, and we've had our share of arguments. But I thought we had a solid relationship. I thought we were both happy. I can say for sure that I was. Now, it's hard not to question myself and wonder if I really was a disappointment to her. Did I neglect her enough to make her feel unloved, leading her to act out the way she did? I can't say for certain, but what I know is that her behavior and the way she reacted to our breakup were way out of line. I didn't deserve that treatment, and that's on her. Thank you to everyone who has been supportive during all of this. Reading the kind words and advice has helped me a lot. It's time for me to move on, and I hope to eventually find someone who appreciates me for who I am. So, yeah, I broke up with Jenna on Thursday night, and it didn't go well at all. She got really nasty and ended up causing damage to my house, my car, and most importantly, to me. But that's it, it's over now, and I've blocked her on my phone and all social media. I sent her those 100 pounds of baby carrots out of anger, which was silly. I also filed a police report and took pictures of everything, which might help me recover some money through insurance. Will anything come from the police report? Probably not, since I can't prove she did it. The thought of trying to take her to small claims court doesn't sit right with me either. Honestly, I just want to move on and hope my insurance covers the damages.